Average Joes. Today, I wanted to answer some of your Q&A questions that I reached out about on some of my previous videos, and also the fact that I just reached 300 subscribers, or technically about a week ago. So this is also a big thank you to everyone that has subscribed, liked my videos, commented, interacted with me anywhere. Thank you so much for subscribing and sticking with me, and hopefully you will stick around longer, and I'll be keep making videos because channel still seems to be growing some in spurts. But again, thanks for subscribing and liking my videos. So I did reach out on a couple of Discords and in a couple of my videos on the comments for any questions that people might have had. So I've been waiting. That's why took me about a week or so after reaching 300, because I was waiting to have enough questions to answer to make a video worthwhile. So I'm about there. I have about a dozen or so questions that I'm just going to answer. They're mostly hypothetical ones type things, but I just wanted to do it anyway because I don't want people to think that I asked for questions and they gave me them and I just completely ignored them. So that's what I'm going to do today, and hopefully I didn't miss any for anybody that might have asked me some or tagged me in them. If I did, then you can just put them down below and maybe I'll just do it again, or I'll just answer you there, whatever it may be. But yep, as always, if you haven't already, subscribe, please. And I always forget to mention this, but the links down below, I mean, I have Instagram and stuff, but there is a Kindle Unlimited list link. It's not a buy me books link. It is just a list of books that I have highlighted that are available on Kindle Unlimited that you can just go check out. And I'm always adding to them. All right. Getting into the questions. I might not say everybody's name on these just because some of them are Discord handles. But Stephanie asks, if you could have any magical ability, what would it be and why? I came down to about two, and they're kind of along the same vein of I wouldn't do something having some sort of crazy power, like ability to fly or strength or laser vision or anything. It would probably be something like mental manipulation or something to do with the mind, of being very smart, maybe even a sense of foresight or something in that nature, to where the power is in my mind and it's kind of I can be secret about it, and either it's manipulating things or just having some sort of mental control on things, or even a seeing the future type of deal, to where I can be risk averse or whatnot. So some sort of all-knowing mental manipulation, or more practical one would be teleportation. And that is just because I love to travel. I love to go places, and teleportation would be fantastic because we travel so much, and traveling time, and always wanted to go places. I do, however, think I'd get lazy and just be like, well, I don't want to drive to the gym or the grocery store today, so I'm just going to teleport there, which, hey, it's completely fine. But I think teleportation would be fantastic to have. Nicole asks, if you could live in any fantasy world, which would it be? Which would be your pick and why? I feel like it's hard not to pick a middle grade book for this. So it's either going to be like Keepers of the Lost or Harry Potter, because their worlds are very magical and very awesome and atmospheric. And since I read so many adult fantasy books, that I don't want to live in those worlds because they are kind of terrible. That's what makes them appealing to read from, but not go to. It's kind of like asking, would you rather live in London or a war-torn third world country? Obviously you're going to pick the built-up city. So yeah, probably one of those, because the atmosphere is just so awesome and it's very magical. And for the most part, whenever crazy stuff isn't happening, it seems like an awesome place to be. And I was also asked top 10 classic books. Well, this is going to be a really easy list because I've only read two. That's Count of Monte Cristo and Dracula, and I felt pretty similar about both of them. That's it. That's my list of classics. I haven't read many classics. I'm just now starting to try to get into them. It's also weird of how you define classics, because last time I went to the used bookstore, I went to the classics section, and things like Narnia were in the classics section. So when do books become classics? Who knows? I mean, I haven't read Narnia or Lord of the Rings, so I can't count those. Dune's probably getting close to the classics ish, so I'd probably lump Dune in there. But that's about it for all of them. Yeah, I haven't read many classics, but I'm supposed to read Frankenstein this month, and then I have a couple others that I bought with hopes to read them. Zara asks, Books with Zara, if you could meet any author, dead or alive, who would it be, and what would be the first question you ask them? I don't I'm only new to reading, so it's not like I have authors that I super love or anybody that like any classic authors that would be awesome to talk to or read or anything like that. The only ones that really came to mind was Dr. Seuss. He's pretty big inspirational, and like what was his inspiration for everything that he did and how he came up with what he did. And I'm sure there's even information out there on all this because he's such a big name author. That's the only one I really thought of for the big name. And then the next one I think would just be the most fun, and that's John Gwynn, because John Gwynn is awesome. He's a super nice guy. And I would ask him if we can fight. And what I mean by fight is let's put on some of his armor, let's get the swords, and let's just have a sword battle. Get the brothers Gwyn in on it. And I think let's just spar or do something crazy with armor. I don't know what it would be, but I'm down for throwing on some armor and doing some crazy stuff. So I'd probably go with John Gwyn one. All right. Who are two literary fantasy characters from different book series that you'd like to see face off against each other? This one actually came up kind of, or in a way, for like, there was a tag a long time ago of like, if somebody could be your champion, who would it be? And these are the two of the ones that came up, and that would be Falkio and Hadrian. So Falkio from the Greatcoats, Hadrian from the Writer of Revelation. They're both fantastic swordsmen, awesome warriors. And, even though I think Hadrian skill wise could beat Falkio, Falkio somehow always wins duels and he is a duel master. So I think those two would be very interesting to see how it would come out, because they're both basically the best of their craft, and to see them fight. And since they're both on level playing fields of sword fighting. So I think that would be a really awesome duel. And then Klaus asks, who would win in a drinking contest, Veritatis or Snape? It has to be Snape. I know some other people answered this question when he asked it, and that's because he's a potions master, of course. He was a bad guy. I feel like bad guys just know how to drink. He was also, this is just purely speculation, he was also broken most of his life and went down a dark path, and I'm sure he got into some drinking struggles. Versus Veritatis is like a everyday soldier boy. Very, I bet you with Veritatis, if you asked him to do a drinking contest, he would back out because he told Nathair that he wasn't going to drink very much tonight. So he's just done, and he's not gonna go against what his friend said to not do. So that's why I think Veritatis wouldn't. I don't think he's I don't think he would be a drinker. Kate, fictional crusts, not existent. You could say that I could possibly say Ygritte from Game of Thrones or A Song of Ice and Fire, but that also could be the actress who plays FP, who's actually, yeah. So maybe her. And I think, but even her personality, I think, was really awesome and very, very, very well done in the show. But sure, maybe Ygritte. I don't know. I don't really think like that. Pete, if you could mass produce one magical potion, what would it be, and how would you use it? Probably healing. But that could be dangerous because they heal all. People would just be reckless and stupid and do whatever the heck they want, and that could even go to like treating their bodies terribly. So like, I don't even know if I would mass produce it. And then you'd come into a more dilemma. It's like, okay, who do you give it to? You can't just like give it to everyone. So healing could be it, but I think there would be a lot of drawbacks to it. I think there would have to be a side effect to the healing potion. That's only really one that I could think of. I don't really know that much about magical potions and stuff. I'm sure I could just make up my own. But I think a healing would be good. You'd also ask, describe yourself with book titles. And I picked out 3 of these. That is You Die When You Die. This is a book that I actually might read soon. It's the first book in a trilogy, but You Die When You Die. It's like, whatever happens is going to happen. So let's just see whatever happens. Kind of an easygoing, but on a dark side. Crushing It. Actually nonfiction that I've read before by Gary V. Crushing It, because, just crushing it. And The Roaming. And even though this is a book about zombie apocalypse, The Roaming, I move a lot in the real world. We move every 2 or so years, and then we travel to a bunch of different countries while we're even there. So we were always on the go and roaming and going. All right. What is the oldest book you own? Now, I'm not sure if this means when it was written oldest, or when it was actually physically produced and put on paper oldest. As far as like written oldest, it'd probably be Count of Monte Cristo. I think it was written, 1800s, early 1840s, 1820s, something like that was when it was written. Physical printed ones, it might be my Isaac Asimov. Foundation, iRobot. Actually, turns out I have 2 copies of iRobot. Did not know that. Yeah, probably Foundation. I don't know when these were printed, if I can see, but the pages are very yellow. So that tells me that they're old. These are probably the most yellow pages that I have. So I guess science says yellow means it's more older. Published 1983. I'm seeing it copyrighted early 80s and early 90s. So this isn't even that old. That's probably the closest thing I got, I think. Maybe I'd have to look around, but we're going on yellow pages, and it's going to be Asimov. And then the same person asks, pineapple on pizza, yes or no? Heck yes, put just about whatever you want on a pizza. I don't really care. I think pineapple's fantastic on pizza. You pair pineapple with some sort of pork product and maybe a jalapeno, fantastic. Do not care. So Hadrian asks, would you rather have the head and neck of a giraffe on a human body or a human head and neck on a giraffe body? Definitely going to be the human body and neck and giraffe, head and neck of a giraffe, because I think physically I can still maneuver normally, but like a super long head and neck, you're just going to be, you can just see really far. Now, I just thought as I'm doing this, it's be really, really hard to eat. But I don't want a giant giraffe body and a tiny little head. That would just look really, really dumb. So yeah, give me the head and neck. I think it'd be the least cumbersome of them. Tokyo Reed asks, do you reread your favorite books? And no, I have never reread a single book ever, whether it's be favorites or anything otherwise. There's just so many new books that I want to get to that I just haven't really felt the need to reread anything. I think once I do actually do my first reread, it'll probably be a book that was like a 5-star read years ago. And if I pick it up or look at it and say that I can't really think of the characters' names or the plot overall, like I might have an idea of what it's about, but if I can't remember a lot of the details of it, it might be time to reread it. But like there's books that I've read 5 years ago to where I still don't think I need to reread it yet. So there's a couple that are starting to surface that I was contemplated rereading, but it'll be many years. So it's like half of the book will still be somewhat fresh to me when I reread it. And yeah, that's about it. I just don't, time is precious and I have enough books to get through. Okay, Anthony asks, favorite country you lived in? So I've really only lived in the US until now, Bahrain. And I wouldn't say this is the best, like favorite wise. But I did study abroad in Australia, and that was pretty awesome. So I guess I'm just going to go with Australia because it was a great time when I did study abroad there on the Sunshine Coast. And then favorite countries I visited, where did you have the best time? Other countries visited. So I think I'm up to about 18 or so countries that I've been to. Some of my favorites have definitely been New Zealand, Thailand, Spain, and then this past year we went to Georgia, which was such a fantastic time. Yeah, those are some of the best countries that we've visited. We've also done others that we just popped on over. So like on a Mediterranean cruise, we went to Montenegro. I think that was our favorite stop on our Mediterranean cruise. Montenegro is fantastic. All right, so editing me, I realized that we went to Kilimanjaro this year. So we did a safari. We got really, really close to some lions. And then we had some lunch and saw an elephant get really, really close. And it was a couple of days safari, which was awesome. And then we went and did Kilimanjaro, which was a 6-day hike. We hiked up and camped at night, and there's us at the summit. It was freezing cold. And then us trekking back. It was very hard, but very crazy and awesome experience that I just couldn't leave out. Obviously, Australia I've been to, but yeah, New Zealand I think was probably the top country that I've spent about 5 weeks in New Zealand, and I still would like to go back and do stuff because there's still more to do. My wife has not been there, but yeah, New Zealand is such a fun time. So many awesome things to do. Thailand as well. I went down to the south, the Bangkok, and then to the islands of Thailand, but there's still more islands to go to. And then there's the north, lots to do there. Spain, we only went to 2 of the cities, Barcelona and Valencia on the cruise, but we want to go inland. We want to go to the western part of it, the southern coast of it. So those are probably the top 3 that I have been to, some of the best times and ones we want to get to. But our travel list is definitely huge. Johanna asks, what booktubers tastes best with you? Probably Lauren from Paperback Empire. I think hers and mine really align because she reads fantasy, adult and some YA and stuff. She reads sci-fi and mysteries and thrillers. And so those three right there are my bread and butter as well. So I think a lot of our tastes align a good bit. And I think she just likes a good story and a good time, maybe a little more plot driven. So definitely our tastes are pretty close. Holly from Holly Hart's books, she was actually the very first booktuber I ever watched. And she's much more into adult fantasy and grimdark and does not like romance or not too much YA stuff. She hasn't really done too much in sci-fi or thrillers or anything, but definitely the adult fantasy side of it. And then Alan, 100%, you know, Faithful and Fallen, Great Coats, Senlin, and now Shadows of the Apt. You know, those are some of his top ones, and I've thoroughly loved all of them. So I think there's a lot that he reads, and definitely a lot of I trust a lot of his recommendations, and I'm Flintlock. I'm on that quest as well. And then Petrick just reads a ton, so it's hard to not have some sort of taste that align with his. But I like the diversity that he reads of the self-published, the lower print ones. A lot of the books that he reads and recommends are on Kindle Unlimited as well. But he has a very good insight and very good taste on a lot of fantasy books. I don't think there's many books that he hasn't liked that I have. But yeah, probably them are the main ones. And Johanna also asks favorite character type. So I wasn't really sure about how to answer this one. I mean, I definitely like the sarcastic and strong silent type. Either you're sarcastic and you're witty, or there's the strong silent type that's just kind of a side character, like the Kest or whatever of the story. And yeah, I just the humor that it gets brought to stories helps a lot. I also like a little bit of the selfish hero or the unwanted hero. And I'm not saying so like heroes should be flawed, and there's plenty of stories that try and make heroes flawed. And I think that everybody has a certain amount of selfishness to them. So these super noble Captain America type heroes can get a little bit boring because it's like, oh yeah, I know that all they care about is saving the day and doing everything selfless, but that's just not how people are to me. So I think a little bit of a selfish hero I do like when they put their own needs before other people's at times. I mean, they're still the hero, but that makes them a little more human. But also the unwanted hero, and by that I mean there's a lot of the books where I guess it's more what happens in YA, but there's a lot of times books where it's like, hey, you are the one, you're the chosen one, or we need you to help, and they're just like, oh, I'm nobody special, I can't do this, I'm not. They're just like super modest, and it's like kind of annoying because it's like, yeah, we know everybody's saying you're great or you need to do this, but you just keep denying it. I'm talking about the unwanted hero who's like, yeah, I've done some stuff, yeah, I'm good, I can do what you need to help you, but I don't want to. I've got my own problems. And they're just like, no, get away from me because I've got my own stuff going on. I don't need to solve your issues. I have my own issues. But they end up helping them anyway. So the unwanted hero, I think, is something that I really like because again, people are selfish at times, and people aren't always about, look, I'm here to save the day. And I think the last one is share a cool travel memory and a book that reminds you of that place. Ironically, when I travel, I don't read all that much. You know, on the plane rides, what I will read, but it's not really a memory that sticks. But one of the main one that came up, and the one that I usually always think of, is last year and a half ago, went to the beach with my family, and while there, I brought Drawing of the Three. I just started getting into Dark Tower, so I had Drawing of the Three, and every day around 10 a.m., I would go down to the beach, set up our shade, our Shambui shade. And I'd have my cooler full of, we'll just call them goodies. And I would read for 2, 3, 4 hours on the beach. I would just have my goodies and my snacks and everything, and I would read. And if you've read Drawing of the Three, you know that the majority of the book takes place on a beach. And I am reading on the beach. And I did not intend that. It just sort of happened. So it added another level of the atmospheric read of like reading this on the beach while the book is happening on the beach. So like so I was just going through it, and every 40 minutes or so I'd go in the water, I'd cool off, I'd come back, have some more goodies, readjust my shade, and read. And it was like that basically for the entire week, and it was fantastic. And it's just something that definitely stuck with me. So that'd probably be for that one. But that is it for the Q&A. So yeah, I'm always down to answer more questions if you want. I don't know. I'm not sure when I'll do another formal Q&A in the future. It might be, probably 500 is the next milestone marker. So again, once again, thank you for subscribing, liking, and show me some love on my videos. But if you have any other questions, you can ask them down below and I'll just give you an answer down below in the comments. But yeah, I will see you again in another video.